My wife's idea of helping her mother involves more eyeliner than oxygen tanks. Funny that. I watched Cara apply her third coat of mascara in the hallway mirror, her phone buzzing incessantly on the kitchen counter. She'd been getting ready for 2 hours to visit a woman who supposedly couldn't tell Tuesday from Christmas anymore. "You sure your mom needs you tonight?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe of our farmhouse kitchen. "It's almost 9. Cara's hand paused mid-stroke. "She gets confused at night, Eli. You know that?" Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I knew a lot of things, like how Cara's mother lived in assisted living and had round-the-clock nurses, like how my wife had started wearing perfume to these emergency visits, like how she'd changed her phone passcode last month. "Right," I said. "The confusion." She grabbed her purse, the expensive leather one I'd bought her for Christmas, and kissed my cheek. Her lips felt cold. "I'll text you when I get there. Don't wait up." The door clicked shut behind her, and I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon. Through the kitchen window, I watched her taillights disappear down our gravel driveway. Then I grabbed my keys. 23 years in the landscaping business teaches you patience. You learn to watch, wait, and strike when the conditions are right. You also learn that weeds always reveal themselves eventually. I parked across from the Riverside Inn, a 2-story brick building that called itself boutique, but smelled like desperation and industrial carpet cleaner. Cara's silver Honda sat in the lot like evidence at a crime scene. My phone buzzed. "At Mom's now. Love you." I stared at the message, then at the hotel entrance. My wife was 30 yards away, texting me lies while I sat in my truck like some pathetic private investigator. The bourbon burned in my chest, but not as much as the realization that I'd been played. I waited. The dashboard clock ticked past 10, then 11. A few guests wandered in and out, traveling salesmen, cheating spouses, people with secrets, just like my wife. At 11:47, the door to room 237 opened. My son walked out, not some stranger, not some co-worker or old flame. My own family, 24 years old, adjusting his shirt like he'd just gotten dressed in a hurry. Tyler paused in the doorway, said something over his shoulder that made someone laugh. A woman's laugh. Cara's laugh. The world tilted sideways. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white, watching Tyler, my boy, the personal trainer I'd put through college, the kid who still called me for money, walk to his Jeep like he owned the night. He drove off without looking back. The hotel room light stayed on. I sat there for another hour, processing what I'd seen, my wife and my son. The 2 people I'd trusted most in this world, playing me for a fool in a $30 a night hotel room. When I finally drove home, the house felt different, smaller, like it had been holding its breath, waiting for me to figure out what everyone else already knew. I poured another bourbon and sat at my kitchen table with a yellow legal pad. At the top, I wrote, "War Journal, Day 1. They thought I'd fall apart. They thought I'd cry or scream or beg for explanations. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I'd built my landscaping company from nothing, survived a recession, and outlasted every competitor in 3 counties. I knew how to plan, how to be patient, and how to remove problems at the root." Cara came home at 2 a.m. smelling like hotel soap and guilt. She found me reading in my chair. "How's your mother?" I asked without looking up. "Better. The nurses got her settled." She paused at the bottom of the stairs. "You're up late." "Couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about family." She climbed the stairs without another word. I listened to her shower, brush her teeth, slide into bed in the room we'd shared for 6 years. When her breathing finally steadied into sleep, I returned to my legal pad. Tyler had been on my company payroll as a part-time equipment handler. Cara did our books and handled client relations. They both had access to accounts, keys to the office, and my complete trust. Had, past tense. I opened my laptop and started making lists: bank accounts, insurance policies, business contracts, property deeds, every piece of my life that they'd wormed their way into, thinking I was too stupid or too trusting to notice. By dawn, I had a plan. Tommy Pierce had been my business partner for 15 years, and he could read my moods better than a weather vane reads wind. When I walked into our office at 7 a.m. with coffee and a manila folder, he knew something had shifted. "You look like hell," he said, not looking up from his equipment manifest. "And you're early." "That's never good." I set the folder on his desk. "I need you to witness some paperwork, employment terminations." Tommy's weathered face creased into a frown. "Who we firing?" "Tyler and Cara, effective immediately." He set down his pen and studied me. Tommy had worked construction since he was 16, survived 2 divorces and a heart attack, and never asked questions he didn't want answered. But this was different. "Your boys steal from us?" "Among other things." I didn't elaborate, and Tommy didn't push. He signed where I pointed, dated everything, and handed back the folder. "You need me to handle the locks?" "Already done. Changed the office and warehouse codes this morning." "Bank access?" "Suspended at 6 a.m. Tommy nodded slowly. "You want to talk about it?" "Not yet. Maybe not ever." "Fair enough. What about the crew? They're going to ask questions." Our landscaping company employed 12 full-time workers and twice that many seasonal help. Tyler had been popular with the guys, young, strong, always ready with a joke or a beer after work. Cara handled their paychecks and insurance paperwork. Tell them Tyler found other opportunities. Cara's focusing on family obligations. And if they don't buy it? I looked out the office window at our equipment yard. Trucks, mowers, trailers, and tools worth $500,000. Everything I'd built from scratch while Tyler was learning to walk, and Cara was probably still in high school. "They'll buy it," I said, because it's the truth. At lunch, I drove to the Riverside Inn. The desk clerk was a woman in her 60s with suspicious eyes and a nameplate that read Ms. Blevins. She looked like she'd been collecting secrets since the Carter administration. "Help you?" she asked without enthusiasm. "My wife left her earrings in room 237 last night, Cara Weston. She's too embarrassed to come back herself." Ms. Blevins studied me like I was trying to return a stolen car. "Room 237's been empty for 2 days. "Then maybe it was Tuesday night, or last week. She's been helping her mother a lot lately." Understanding flickered in the woman's eyes. She'd seen this dance before, the husband who knows but can't quite say it. "Earrings, you said?" "Small diamonds. Anniversary gift." She disappeared into the back office and returned with a clipboard. "I'll need to see some ID. Hotel policy." I showed her my license. She made a show of checking it against her computer screen, then leaned forward conspiratorially. "Your wife's been a regular customer. Always pays cash, always books the same room. Real, polite girl." "How regular?" "Every Tuesday and Friday for about 3 months. Sometimes brings a friend." My jaw tightened. "Friend?" "Young man, handsome, drives a red Jeep." I thanked Ms. Blevins and slipped her $20 for her trouble. She tucked it into her blouse pocket like she was storing ammunition. "No earrings turned up," she said, "but I'll keep looking." That evening, I went to Murphy's Tavern, the kind of neighborhood bar where everyone knows your name and half your business. The owner, Mike Murphy, had been cutting my hair since I was Tyler's age. His wife Loretta worked the evening shift and collected gossip like some people collected stamps. "Eli," she called from behind the bar. "Haven't seen you in weeks. Where's that pretty wife of yours?" "Home with a headache," I said, sliding onto my usual stool. "Bourbon. Neat. Poor thing. She's been running herself ragged taking care of her mother." I sipped my drink and waited. Loretta couldn't keep a secret if her life depended on it. "Though I did see her car at the Riverside Inn last Tuesday," she continued, polishing a glass with unnecessary vigor. "Thought that was odd. Figured maybe her mom was staying there for some reason. Maybe, I said. Course, that's the same day I saw your Tyler there too. Small world, right? Small town, I corrected. Loretta's smile faltered slightly. She'd expected surprise, maybe concern. Instead, she got the emotional equivalent of a brick wall. Well, she said, moving to serve another customer. I'm sure it's nothing. I finished my bourbon and left a $10 tip. By tomorrow, half the town would know that Eli Weston had been asking about his wife and son at the hotel. By next week, they'd start connecting dots. Sometimes the best revenge is letting other people do the work for you. When I got home, Tyler's Jeep was in my driveway. He sat on my porch steps, looking like a kicked dog. Dad, we need to talk. I walked past him and unlocked my front door. No, we don't. Please, just 5 minutes. I turned around. In the porch light, Tyler looked younger than his 24 years. Still my little boy, despite everything. You're fired, I said. Your access to all company accounts has been suspended. Your key won't work anymore. His face went pale. Dad, I can explain. No need. I saw everything I needed to see last night at the hotel. Tyler's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. You were watching us? I was watching my wife lie to me. You were just part of the show. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're sleeping with my wife. You've been doing it for months. You've been stealing from my company to pay for hotel rooms. Did I miss anything? Tyler stood up, his hands shaking. We didn't mean for it to happen. But you didn't try very hard to stop it either. She said you two were having problems. She said you were thinking about divorce anyway. I laughed, a sound like breaking glass. And you believed her? I love her, Dad. The words hit me like a physical blow. Not because they hurt, though they did, but because of how easily he said them. Like loving my wife was the most natural thing in the world. Get off my property, I said quietly. Dad, get off my property before I call the police and report you for theft. Tyler stumbled down the porch steps, got in his Jeep, and drove away. I watched his tail lights disappear, then went inside and poured myself a drink. Cara was waiting in the kitchen, still in her work clothes. Tyler came by, she said. I noticed. He told me what happened, about the company. I sat down across from her at the table where we'd eaten breakfast that morning, where we'd planned vacations and argued about money and pretended to be happy. Did he tell you I saw you at the hotel? Her face crumpled. Eli, please. Did he tell you I know about the money? The cash payments to the hotel? The company credit card charges for dinners and gifts? Tears started down her cheeks. Real ones, not the practiced kind she used when she wanted something. We can fix this, she whispered. We can go to counseling. We can work it out. We? You and me. Tyler doesn't matter. He was just what? A distraction? A toy? A mistake. A stupid, stupid mistake. I finished my bourbon and stood up. You're right about one thing. It was a mistake, but not the one you think. What do you mean? The mistake was thinking you could play me for a fool in my own town, with my own son, using my own money. Cara reached across the table, trying to grab my hand. Eli, please, I love you. I've always loved you. I pulled away. No, you don't. You love my house, my business, my bank account. You love the idea of being married to someone stable and successful, but you don't love me. That's not true. If it wasn't true, you wouldn't be sleeping with my son in a $30 hotel room. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Don't say it like that. Like what? Like the truth? I left her crying at the kitchen table and went upstairs to the guest bedroom. From now on, we'd be roommates at best. But not for long. I had plans for both of them. The next morning, I found Cara's overnight bag by the front door. She stood in the kitchen fully dressed, car keys in her hand. I'm going to stay with Shannon for a few days, she said without looking at me. Give us both some space to think. Shannon was Cara's best friend, a divorced real estate agent who thought every marriage problem could be solved with wine and girl talk. Perfect. Take all the time you need, I said, pouring coffee. She hesitated at the door. When I come back, can we talk? Really talk? Sure. But we both knew she wasn't coming back. Not to stay. After she left, I called my lawyer. David Chen had handled my business contracts for 10 years and never asked unnecessary questions. I need a divorce attorney, I told him. Someone aggressive but discreet. Grounds? Adultery. With documentation. How much documentation? Hotel receipts, security footage, witness statements, and financial records showing theft of marital assets. David whistled softly. Someone's been busy. Someone's been stupid. There's a difference. He gave me a name, Patricia Ross, a family law specialist who'd earned her reputation destroying cheating spouses in court. She's expensive, David warned. Good. I want this done right. I met Patricia that afternoon in her downtown office. She was 50-something, sharp-eyed, and dressed like she could foreclose on your house with a smile. Your wife's been having an affair with your son, she said, reviewing my file. That's going to play very well in court. It's not my biological son. Tyler's from my first marriage. Even better. Shows a pattern of manipulation and betrayal. How long have they been married? 6 years. Any children together? No. Prenup? No, I was an idiot. Patricia smiled. Lucky for me. Unlucky for her. What do you want? Everything. The house, the business, my retirement accounts. I want her to walk away with exactly what she brought to this marriage. Which was? A pretty face and a talent for spending other people's money. I can work with that. By the end of the week, I had a strategy. Patricia would file papers on Monday, citing adultery and financial misconduct. I'd already moved our joint savings into a separate account, perfectly legal since my name was on everything. Cara would come home to find herself cut off from all marital assets pending the divorce proceedings. But first, I had some public relations work to do. Saturday night, I went back to Murphy's Tavern. The place was packed with the usual crowd, construction workers, shop owners, and retirees looking for company and cheap beer. Tyler sat at a corner table with 2 of his gym buddies, nursing a beer and looking miserable. He saw me come in and started to stand up. I shook my head slightly, and he sat back down. Smart boy. Eli, Loretta called from behind the bar. How's Cara feeling? Better, I said, loud enough for half the bar to hear. She's staying with Shannon for a few days. Needs some space to think about things. Think about what? I ordered a bourbon and waited for the conversations around me to fade down. In a place like Murphy's, silence spreads like spilled beer. Well, I said finally, it seems my wife's been having some confusion about her marriage vows. Loretta's eyes went wide. Confusion? The kind that involves hotel rooms and other people's sons. The bar went quiet. Even the jukebox seemed to pause between songs. You mean, Loretta started, I mean my wife's been sleeping with my stepson for 3 months, using my money to pay for it and lying to my face about visiting her sick mother. Someone dropped a beer bottle. It shattered on the floor like an exclamation point. Tyler shot to his feet. Dad, don't what? I turned to face him. Don't tell the truth? Don't let people know what kind of man my stepson really is? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You want to defend yourself? Tell everyone how you seduced my wife. Tell them how you used my company credit card to buy her dinners and jewelry. Tell them how you convinced her I didn't care about her. Tyler's face went red, then white. His friends stared at him like he'd grown a second head. I love her, he said quietly. You love the idea of her. You love taking something that belonged to me. You love feeling like a man by sleeping with your father's wife. Tyler took a step toward me. Stop talking about her like that. Like what? Like a whore? If the shoe fits. He swung at me. I saw it coming from a mile away, stepped aside, and let him stumble past me into a table. Chairs scattered. His beer went flying. "Enough!" Mike Murphy's voice boomed from behind the bar. "Tyler, get out, now!" But I don't care what he did. You don't swing at customers in my bar." Tyler looked around the room, seeing nothing but disgusted faces and shaking heads. Small towns have their own justice system, and he'd just been found guilty. He left without another word. I finished my bourbon while the bar slowly returned to normal conversation. But I could feel the stares, hear the whispered conversations. By morning, everyone in town would know the story. By next week, Tyler and Cara would be local celebrities, the kind people crossed the street to avoid. Loretta refilled my glass without being asked. "I'm sorry, Eli. I had no idea." "Nobody did. They were very careful." "What are you going to do?" "What any sensible man would do. Divorce her, fire him, and get on with my life." But that wasn't the whole truth. I was just getting started. "Sunday morning," Cara called. "I heard about last night," she said. "Shannon says the whole town's talking." Small towns love gossip. "You had no right to humiliate me like that." "I had every right. You're still my wife, and Tyler's still my employee. Was my employee." "You fired him?" "Friday. Didn't he tell you?" Silence on the other end. "Cara, this is insane. You're destroying people's lives over a mistake." "I'm not destroying anything. You and Tyler did that all by yourselves. I want to come home. We need to talk." "Come ahead. But you should know. I filed for divorce. You'll be served papers tomorrow." The line went silent. An hour later, Tyler called. "Dad, please, we need to fix this." "There's nothing to fix. It's broken beyond repair." "I'll leave town. I'll disappear. Just don't destroy her." "I'm not destroying her. I'm divorcing her. There's a difference." "Please, Tyler, let me ask you something. When you were sleeping with my wife, did you think about me? Did you wonder how I'd feel when I found out? Dad, did you laugh about it? Did you joke about the old man who was too stupid to see what was happening in his own house? No, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Silence. "I thought so," I said, and hung up. That afternoon, I drove to Tyler's apartment. His Jeep was gone, but I had a key. I'd been helping him with rent since he started his personal training business. The place was a mess. Clothes everywhere, dirty dishes in the sink, gym equipment scattered around the living room. On his kitchen counter, I found a stack of receipts from the Riverside Inn. 47 of them, dating back 4 months. I took pictures of everything with my phone, then left the receipts where I'd found them. Patricia would love this. On my way out, I ran into Tyler's landlord, an elderly man named Frank, who lived downstairs. "Eli, haven't seen you in a while. How's the boy doing?" "Not so good, Frank. I think he's going to be moving soon." "Money problems?" "You could say that. Moral problems, too." Frank's face darkened. He seemed like such a nice kid. They always do. I drove home thinking about justice. The legal system would give me my divorce, my money, and my property, but it wouldn't give me satisfaction. That would have to come from somewhere else. Fortunately, I had a plan for that too. Monday morning brought 2 things: divorce papers and a reckoning. Patricia Ross had outdone herself. The legal documents didn't just cite adultery, they painted a picture of systematic deception, financial misconduct, and moral bankruptcy that would make a judge weep or laugh. Either way, Cara was screwed. I was reviewing the papers when Tommy walked into our office with coffee and a grim expression. "Heard about the weekend," he said. "How you holding up?" "Better than expected. You?" "Pissed off. That boy had no right." "Forget Tyler. We've got bigger problems." I showed him the financial records I'd been compiling. Over the past 6 months, Cara had used company credit cards for personal expenses totaling nearly $8,000. Dinners, jewelry, weekend trips, and hotel rooms, all of it carefully disguised as business expenses. "Jesus," Tommy muttered. She really thought you were stupid. They both did, which brings me to today's agenda. At 10 a.m., I called a staff meeting. All 12 full-time employees gathered in our equipment barn, looking confused and slightly worried. Monday morning meetings usually meant bad news. As of today, I announced, Tyler Weston and Cara Weston are no longer associated with this company in any capacity. Tyler's been terminated for cause. Cara's resigned to focus on personal matters. Hands went up immediately. What kind of cause? Asked Jimmy, our crew foreman. I handed him a folder containing copies of Tyler's hotel receipts and Cara's fraudulent expense reports. The kind that involves theft and moral turpitude. Jimmy's eyes widened as he flipped through the pages. Holy shit, boss. Tyler was stealing? Tyler was using company funds to pay for hotel rooms where he was sleeping with my wife. The barn went silent. You could have heard a pin drop in the next county. That's why Cara's leaving too, I continued. Hard to keep doing the books when you're part of the embezzlement scheme. More hands went up, but I waved them down. I know you all have questions. Here's what you need to know. This company is financially sound, nobody's losing their job, and we're going to be more profitable without the extra weight. Any other questions can wait until tomorrow. The meeting broke up with a lot of muttering and head shaking. By lunch, every landscaping crew in the county would know the story. By dinner, it would reach the construction workers, shop owners, and bartenders. Small-town gossip travels faster than bad weather. At 2 p.m., Cara showed up at the office. She looked terrible, red eyes, unwashed hair, clothes that had been slept in. Shannon's wine therapy apparently wasn't working. I want to talk to you, she said. We can talk, but not here. This is a place of business. Fine. Where? Murphy's Tavern, 6 o'clock, public place, neutral ground. She started to object, then nodded. Fine. After she left, Tommy shook his head. You sure about meeting her in public? Might get messy. I'm counting on it. Murphy's was packed by 6 o'clock. Word had gotten around that Eli Weston and his cheating wife were having a showdown, and nobody wanted to miss the entertainment. I arrived first and took a table in the center of the room. Cara walked in 10 minutes later, looking like she was heading to her own execution. The conversations didn't stop, but they got quieter. Everyone was listening. You look like hell, I said as she sat down. Thanks. You look smug. I feel smug. Bourbon? I don't drink anymore. Since when? Since my life fell apart. Loretta appeared at our table with a bourbon for me and a coffee for Cara. She lingered longer than necessary, clearly hoping to overhear something juicy. So, I said, after Loretta left. How's Shannon's couch? Uncomfortable. How's the house? Quiet, peaceful, honest. Cara flinched. I deserve that. You deserve a lot worse. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Eli, please. Can we go somewhere private? This is humiliating. Humiliating? I laughed loud enough for the next table to hear. You sleeping with my stepson for 3 months, steal my money, lie to my face, and you're worried about humiliation? Keep your voice down. Why? Embarrassed? Afraid people might think less of you? Please. Let me tell you what's embarrassing, I said, my voice carrying across the room. Embarrassing is finding out your wife's been playing house with your son while you're working 60-hour weeks to pay for it. Embarrassing is realizing half the town knew about it before you did. Embarrassing is being married to a woman who thinks so little of you that she'll betray you with your own family. Cara started crying. Real tears this time, not the practiced kind. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Sorry you got caught. Sorry it's public. Sorry your meal ticket's been canceled, but you're not sorry you did it. That's not true. Prove it. Tell me you love me. Tell me you never loved Tyler. Tell me it was all a mistake and you want to work things out. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. That's what I thought, I said. I stood up and dropped a 20 on the table. Enjoy your coffee. And Cara? What? Don't come to the house anymore. It's not your home. I walked out to spontaneous applause from 3 tables. Behind me, I could hear Cara sobbing and Loretta offering comfort. By tomorrow, she'd be the most pitied woman in town. By next week, she'd be a cautionary tale. But I wasn't done yet. Tuesday morning, I drove to Tyler's gym. He rented space in a strip mall between a nail salon and a tax preparation office, catering to middle-aged housewives and weekend warriors who wanted to get in shape without judgment. The place was busy. Morning aerobics class, a few guys on the weight machines, Tyler working with a client on the rowing machine. He saw me through the window and his face went pale. I walked in like I owned the place. "Tyler," I called across the room. "We need to talk." The aerobics class stopped mid-jumping jack. The weightlifters paused between reps. Tyler's client, a woman in her 40s wearing too much makeup, looked back and forth between us like she was watching tennis. "Dad, please, not here." "Why not here? Afraid your clients might learn what kind of man you really are?" "Please." I turned to address the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet my stepson Tyler. He's been sleeping with my wife for the past 3 months, using money stolen from my business to pay for hotel rooms." Someone gasped. Tyler's client got off the rowing machine and backed away like he had a contagious disease. "He's also been lying about it," I continued. "To me, to his friends, and probably to you. So when he talks about integrity and commitment and pushing through the hard times, remember that this is a man who couldn't keep his hands off his father's wife." Tyler stepped toward me. "Stop it. These people have nothing to do with this." "They have everything to do with this. They're your customers. They trust you with their health, their money, their personal information. They deserve to know what kind of person they're dealing with. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every Tuesday and Friday for 3 months, you made the same choice. You chose to betray me, to steal from me, to lie to me." The aerobics instructor, a young woman with kind eyes, stepped forward. "Maybe you two should take this outside." "Good idea," I said. "Tyler, let's go." We walked out to the parking lot, followed by half his clientele. Tyler was shaking with rage or shame or both. "Are you done?" he asked. "Not even close." I handed him an envelope. "Cease and desist order. You're not allowed to contact me, my wife, or anyone associated with my business. You're also being sued for theft and breach of fiduciary duty." "Breach of what?" "You were my employee. You had a duty to act in my best interests. Instead, you acted in your own interests. That's a crime." Tyler's hands shook as he read the legal papers. "This says you want $50,000. That's what you cost me. Hotel bills, stolen funds, lost productivity, emotional distress, and punitive damages. I don't have $50,000. Then you'd better find it, or declare bankruptcy. Either way, you're finished in this town." I got in my truck and drove away, leaving Tyler standing in the parking lot with a legal document that would ruin his life. In my rearview mirror, I could see his clients filing back into the gym, probably to cancel their memberships. That afternoon, Patricia Ross called with good news. "Your wife's attorney wants to settle," she said. "They're offering to split everything 50-50. Counteroffer, she gets nothing." "That's not realistic." "It's perfectly realistic. She committed adultery, she stole marital assets, and she has no legal claim to property I owned before the marriage." "What about the house?" "Mine. I bought it before we met." "The business?" "Mine. Established 10 years before we met." "Retirement accounts?" "Mine. She never contributed a penny." Patricia laughed. "You really did marry an idiot." "I married a pretty face with expensive tastes. Same thing." By Wednesday, the whole town was talking. Cara had moved out of Shannon's house after a screaming fight. Apparently, Shannon didn't want to be associated with the scandal. Tyler had closed his gym and was rumored to be staying in a motel outside town. I was having lunch at the diner when Frank, Tyler's former landlord, sat down across from me. Heard the boy's in some trouble, he said. Legal trouble, financial trouble, and moral trouble. Shame, I liked him. You didn't know him? Frank nodded thoughtfully. Guess not. By the way, he left some things in his apartment. Personal stuff. You want me to box it up? Throw it away, all of it. Even the pictures? Especially the pictures. Frank smiled. Consider it done. That evening, I sat on my porch with a bourbon and watched the sunset. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. My house was quiet, my business was clean, and my enemies were scattered to the wind. But the best part was yet to come. Thursday brought rain and revenge in equal measure. I woke up to find my front door standing open and muddy footprints leading through my house. Someone had been inside during the night, and they hadn't been careful about it. My first thought was burglary, but nothing seemed to be missing. The TV was still there, my laptop sat untouched on the kitchen table, and my wallet lay where I'd left it. Then I noticed what was gone: family photos, personal documents, and a jewelry box that had belonged to my first wife. Cara had come home to collect her things, and she'd brought help. I called the police and reported the break-in. Detective Ruth Morrison arrived within an hour, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who'd been dealing with domestic disputes since before Cara was born. Any idea who might have done this? She asked, photographing the muddy footprints. My wife and stepson, they're not supposed to be here. You changed the locks? Yesterday. Detective Morrison examined my front door. No signs of forced entry. They either had a key or you left it unlocked. I never leave it unlocked. Then they had a key. I thought about it. Cara had turned in her house key when she left, but Tyler had always kept a spare for emergencies. I'd forgotten to ask for it back. What did they take? Morrison asked. I walked her through the house, pointing out the missing items. Personal things, mostly, photographs, documents, sentimental objects with no real value. Sounds like your wife was collecting evidence, Morrison said. Probably thinks these things will help her in the divorce. Will they? Depends what's in them. But breaking and entering won't help her case. Morrison filed her report and left. I spent the rest of the morning changing locks again and installing a security system. If Cara wanted to play games, I'd make sure she played by my rules. That afternoon, Tommy came by with interesting news. Saw Tyler at the hardware store, he said. Boy looked rough, like he hadn't slept in days. Good. He was buying rope and tarps, lot of rope. I looked up from my paperwork. How much rope? 100 feet, maybe more, and heavy-duty tarps. The kind you use for covering equipment. Or bodies. Tommy's face went serious. You think he's planning something stupid? I think he's desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. Maybe we should call the police. And tell them what? That my stepson bought rope? That's not a crime. It is, if he's planning to use it on you. I considered this. Tyler was young, strong, and had nothing left to lose. His business was ruined, his reputation was destroyed, and he was facing a lawsuit that would bankrupt him. Men had eliminated for less. I'll be careful, I told Tommy. Be more than careful. Be armed. That night, I sat in my living room with a shotgun across my lap and waited. The security system was armed, the doors were locked, and every light in the house was on. If Tyler wanted a confrontation, I was ready for it. At 11:30, motion sensors triggered the driveway alarm. 2 figures approached the house from the woods behind my property, Tyler and Cara, moving like commandos in a bad movie. I called 911 first, then stepped onto my front porch with the shotgun. That's far enough, I called into the darkness. They froze 20 yards from the house. Dad, we just want to talk, Tyler called back. Then call and make an appointment. Don't sneak around my property like thieves. We tried calling. You won't answer. Because we have nothing to talk about. Cara stepped into the light. She looked wild, hair disheveled, clothes dirty, eyes bright with desperation or madness. You're destroying our lives, she said. You destroyed your own lives. I'm just cleaning up the mess. We love each other, Tyler said. We want to be together. Then be together. Somewhere else. We can't. You've made sure of that. No one will hire me. No one will rent to her. We're pariahs. Good. That was the point. Tyler stepped forward and I raised the shotgun. Don't, I said quietly. Or what? You'll shoot me? If I have to. I'm your son. No, you're the man who slept with my wife and stole my money. My son faded the day I saw you walk out of that hotel room. Cara started crying again. Please, Eli, we'll leave town. We'll disappear. Just call off the lawyers, drop the lawsuit. Not a chance. Then what do you want? Tyler demanded. Justice. This isn't justice. This is revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Tyler and Cara heard them too. Run, I suggested, before this gets worse. They ran. Detective Morrison arrived 5 minutes later with 2 patrol cars and a K-9 unit. They searched the woods, but found nothing except footprints and the rope Tyler had dropped in his haste to escape. 100 feet of climbing rope, Morrison said, examining it. What do you suppose he planned to do with this? Nothing good. I'm putting out a bolo alert. We'll pick them up. Don't bother. They'll be long gone by now. You sure you're safe here? I'm sure. Morrison left a patrol car in my driveway and promised to increase patrols in the area. I thanked her and went back inside, but I didn't sleep. Something about the way Tyler had looked at me, desperate, angry, and completely unhinged, suggested this wasn't over. I was right. Friday morning, I found a note taped to my office door. Meet us at the old quarry at midnight. Come alone. We'll end this one way or another. The quarry was an abandoned limestone pit 5 miles outside town, surrounded by woods and accessible only by a single dirt road. It was the kind of place where people went to dump stolen cars and bury secrets. Tommy read the note and shook his head. You're not going. Yes, I am. It's a trap. Of course it's a trap, but it's also an opportunity. For what? To finish this. I spent the day making preparations. I called Patricia Ross and gave her detailed instructions for handling my estate if something happened to me. I called Detective Morrison and told her about the note, the meeting, and my suspicions about Tyler's mental state. Don't go, she said. Let us handle it. If you show up, they'll run. Then this will drag on forever. Better than you ending up lifeless. I'm not planning to end up lifeless. At 11:45 p.m., I drove to the quarry with a pistol in my jacket and a recording device in my pocket. If Tyler wanted a final confrontation, I'd give him one he'd never forget. They were waiting for me at the edge of the pit, silhouetted against the moonlight like figures from a nightmare. Tyler held a crowbar. Cara clutched a kitchen knife. You came, Tyler said, sounding surprised. I said I would. Are you armed? Are you? Tyler raised the crowbar. This is it, Dad. No more games, no more lawyers. Just us. Just us, I agreed. We want you to drop everything. The divorce, the lawsuit, the criminal charges. We want you to leave us alone. And if I don't? Then we make sure you can't hurt anyone ever again. I laughed. You're going to eliminate me? If we have to. With a crowbar and a kitchen knife? At a quarry where every cop in the county knows you lured me? Tyler's confidence wavered slightly. No one knows we're here. Detective Morrison knows. I called her before I left. She's probably watching us right now. Cara looked around nervously. You're lying. Am I? Check the woods behind you. They turned, and I drew my pistol. Drop the weapons, I said calmly. Tyler spun back around, raising the crowbar. You snake! Drop them now, or I'll drop you. You won't shoot me. Try me. For a long moment we stood frozen in a triangle of hatred and desperation. Then Tyler threw down the crowbar and Cara dropped the knife. Smart choice, I said. Now what? Cara asked. Now you listen. You're going to leave town tonight, both of you. You're going to drive away and never come back. You're going to disappear so completely that I forget you ever existed. We can't just... Yes, you can, because the alternative is prison. Attempted murder, conspiracy, stalking, harassment. I've got it all on tape. I showed them the recording device. Tyler's face went white. 20 years minimum? I continued. Probably more. Is that really what you want? What about the lawsuit? Tyler asked. Consider it dropped, along with the criminal charges, but only if you're gone by sunrise. And the divorce? Uncontested. Cara gets nothing, but she gets to stay out of jail. They looked at each other, communicating silently. Finally, Tyler nodded. We'll go. Good. One more thing. If I ever see either of you again, if you ever contact me or anyone I know, if you ever set foot in this county again, I'll destroy you. Not financially, not legally, personally. Do you understand? They understood. I watched them walk away, leaving their weapons at the bottom of an abandoned quarry. Their footsteps faded into the darkness, and then I was alone. Detective Morrison emerged from the trees 5 minutes later. Get everything? I asked. Every word. Attempted murder, conspiracy, criminal threatening. We could arrest them right now. But you won't. Not if they're really leaving. They're leaving. Morrison holstered her weapon. You know this won't hold up in court. The recording's inadmissible. You didn't inform them they were being taped. I don't need it to hold up in court. I just need them to think it will. And if they come back? They won't. They're cowards. They only fight when they think they can win. We walked back to our cars together. In the distance, I could see taillights disappearing down the county road, Tyler's Jeep, carrying my wife and stepson toward whatever pathetic future awaited them. You feel better? Morrison asked. I feel finished. And I was. 3 months later, I stood in Judge Catherine Walsh's courtroom and watched my marriage officially fade. Patricia Ross had done her job with surgical precision. The divorce decree gave me everything: house, business, retirement accounts, and personal property. Cara got exactly what she'd contributed to our marriage: nothing. The respondent's adultery and financial misconduct are well documented, Judge Walsh said, reviewing the final papers. The court finds no basis for spousal support or division of assets acquired prior to the marriage. Cara wasn't there to hear it. Neither was Tyler. They'd vanished into whatever hole desperate people crawl into when their schemes collapse. I walked out of the courthouse a free man. That evening, I celebrated at Murphy's Tavern with Tommy and half the construction crew. The place was packed, and everyone wanted to buy me a drink. To Eli, Tommy raised his glass. Who proved that good guys don't always finish last? Sometimes they finish first, added Mike Murphy, and sometimes the bad guys don't finish at all. We drank to that. Loretta leaned across the bar with a conspiratorial smile. Heard from Shannon that Cara and Tyler are living in a trailer park outside Nashville. She's waitressing at a truck stop. He's unemployed. Good for them, I said, and meant it. They'd found their level. Think they'll stay together? Does it matter? It didn't. They were someone else's problem now. Over the following weeks, life returned to normal. My landscaping business thrived without the extra weight of embezzled funds and family drama. I hired 2 new employees to replace Tyler and Cara, a retired teacher who handled the books with mathematical precision, and a young man fresh out of college who worked twice as hard as Tyler ever had. The gossip eventually faded down. Small towns love scandal, but they love success more, and my business was more successful than ever. I bought a new truck, took a vacation to Colorado, and started dating a widow named Margaret, who owned the local flower shop. She was my age, had her own money, and didn't believe in mixing business with pleasure. I heard about your ex-wife, she said over dinner one night. What about her? That she was young and pretty and stupid. 2 out of 3. Which 2? Young and stupid. Pretty's a matter of opinion. Margaret laughed. I like you. Eli Weston. I like you too. 6 months after the divorce, I received a letter from Tyler. No return address, postmarked from somewhere in Texas. Dad, it began. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to write this. I'm sorry for everything. I was young and stupid, and I thought I was in love. I know that's not an excuse, but it's the only explanation I have. Cara and I broke up 2 months ago. Turns out she was cheating on me with a truck driver she met at work. Guess some people never learn. I'm working construction now, trying to get my life back together. I know I can never make up for what I did, but I wanted you to know that I think about it every day. I think about you every day. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be. Tyler. I read the letter twice, then threw it in the fireplace and watched it burn. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. Some people have to live with the consequences of their choices. That was Tyler's burden to carry, not mine. A year later, I married Margaret in a small ceremony at the courthouse. Judge Walsh performed the service, and Tommy was my best man. No family drama, no hidden agendas, no secrets. Just two adults who'd learned from their mistakes and decided to try again. The reception was at Murphy's Tavern, naturally. Half the town showed up to wish us well and tell stories about my first marriage that got more outrageous with each retelling. Remember when Cara tried to claim she was visiting her sick mother? Loretta asked the crowd. While she was shacked up at the Riverside Inn? Remember when Tyler bought all that rope? Added Frank. Thought he was going to hang himself with shame? Remember when Eli caught them at the quarry with weapons? Detective Morrison chimed in. Dumbest criminals I ever saw. The stories got bigger and better as the night wore on. By closing time, Tyler and Cara had become legendary figures of stupidity and moral bankruptcy, cautionary tales that would be told for generations. I didn't mind. Let them be remembered as fools. I'd rather be remembered as the man who survived their betrayal and came out stronger. Margaret and I honeymooned in Ireland, where nobody knew our history and nobody cared about small-town scandals. We walked the cliffs of Moher, toured ancient castles, and talked about the future instead of the past. Any regrets? She asked on our last night in Dublin. About what? How you handled things with Tyler and Cara. Some people might say you were too harsh. I thought about it. Some people might say they got off easy. Do you really believe that? I believe in consequences. They made choices, and they lived with the results. That's how the world works. And if Tyler had been your biological son? Same result. Family ties doesn't excuse betrayal. Margaret nodded. Good. I wouldn't want to marry a man who could be played for a fool twice. We flew home to a life that was everything my first marriage wasn't. Honest, stable, and built on mutual respect instead of manipulation and lies. My business continued to grow. Tommy and I expanded into commercial landscaping, winning contracts with the county government and 3 major shopping centers. We hired more workers, bought better equipment, and built a reputation for quality that attracted customers from neighboring towns. The old farmhouse became a home again instead of a battlefield. Margaret moved in her furniture, planted a garden, and filled the rooms with laughter instead of tension. Sometimes, late at night, I'd sit on the front porch and think about the past, about Tyler as a little boy, learning to throw a baseball in the backyard, about Cara on our wedding day, promising to love and honor me. But mostly, I thought about justice. Not the legal kind, though that had been satisfying in its own way, but the deeper satisfaction of watching karma do its work. Tyler and Cara had wanted to take what was mine, and in the end, they'd lost everything. Their reputations, their relationships, their futures. They'd played a game they couldn't win against an opponent they'd underestimated. Green lawns, black hearts. I'd pruned the rot and watched it wither. No apologies, no forgiveness, no second chances. Just my life, finally, mine again. 2 years after the divorce, Detective Morrison stopped by my office with news. "Thought you'd want to know," she said. "Tyler's been arrested in Oklahoma, armed robbery." I looked up from my invoices. "Anyone hurt?" "No, but he's looking at 10 to 20 years. I nodded and went back to my paperwork. "Thanks for letting me know." "That's it? No questions about details?" "What details matter? He made another bad choice, and now he'll face another consequence." Morrison studied my face. "You really don't care anymore, do you?" "Should I?" "Most fathers would. Most fathers don't get betrayed by their sons." She left without another word. That evening I told Margaret about Tyler's arrest. She listened without comment, then squeezed my hand. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "That it came to this. That he couldn't learn from his mistakes. Some people never learn. They just keep making the same bad choices until the choices make them." "Is that what happened to Cara, too?" I thought about it. Probably. She's probably working her way through truck drivers and construction workers, looking for the next man to support her. Eventually, she'll pick the wrong one. "And you're okay with that?" "I'm indifferent to it. Her life stopped being my concern the day she chose Tyler over me." Margaret nodded. "Good. The past should stay buried. But sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it claws its way back to the surface when you least expect it." 3 years after the divorce, I got a phone call from a hospital in Nashville. "Mr. Weston, this is Dr. Sarah Chen at Vanderbilt Medical Center. We have a patient here who listed you as her emergency contact." "Who?" "Cara Weston. She was in a car accident. She's asking for you." I almost hung up. Then curiosity got the better of me. "How bad?" "Critical condition, internal injuries, possible brain trauma. She may not make it through the night." "I'm sorry to hear that. Will you be coming?" "No." Silence on the other end. "Sir, she's your wife, ex-wife, and I won't be coming." I hung up and went back to watching television with Margaret. "Who was that?" she asked. "Wrong number." The hospital called twice more over the next 2 days. I didn't answer. Cara faded on a Tuesday morning while I was fertilizing Mrs. Patterson's rose garden. I found out about it 3 weeks later when Patricia Ross called to inform me that I'd been named in Cara's will. "She left you a letter," Patricia said, "and a request." "What kind of request?" "She wanted to be buried in the cemetery here, next to your first wife." I laughed out loud. "Absolutely not. I told them you'd probably say that." "What about the letter? Do you want to read it?" "No. Burn it." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Whatever she had to say, I don't need to hear it." Patricia burned the letter that afternoon and scattered the ashes in her office parking lot. Cara was buried in a pauper's grave outside Nashville, with no headstone and no mourners. I didn't attend the funeral. I was busy living my life. Margaret and I celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary at Murphy's Tavern, surrounded by friends who'd become family and family who'd proven themselves friends. "To second chances," Tommy raised his glass. "To better choices," added Margaret. "To justice," I said quietly. We drank to all three. Later that night, as we walked home under a canopy of stars, Margaret asked the question I'd been expecting for 5 years. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd forgiven them?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "Some things can't be forgiven. Some people don't deserve second chances. Some betrayals are too deep to heal. Even from family? Especially from family. They know better." Margaret squeezed my arm. "I love you, Eli Weston. I love you too." And I did, completely, honestly, without reservation or fear. Because I'd learned the difference between love and manipulation, between loyalty and exploitation, between family and people who happen to share your DNA. Tyler and Cara had taught me those lessons, though not in the way they'd intended. They'd wanted to take everything from me: my wife, my money, my dignity, my peace of mind. Instead, they'd given me everything: clarity, strength, justice, and the knowledge that I was capable of surviving anything. Green lawns, black hearts. I'd pruned the rot and planted something better. No regrets, no apologies, no looking back, just my life, exactly as it should be.